Taliban media flaunts a suicide squad after Pakistan's bombs hit Afghan cities. Is this the next phase of spiraling conflict? Afghanistan primes explosive vests and car bombs to strike major targets in Pakistan? Paktia, Paktika, and Khost on edge as clashes flare along the Durand Line. Is this border about to turn into a war zone? After Pakistan's Operation Ghazab hack, can Saudi Arabia and Iran broker peace between Islamabad and Kabul? As Afghanistan and Pakistan exchanged cross-border strikes, Afghan state media released a striking new image linked to the escalating conflict. The Bakhtar News Agency published a photo of what it described as a battalion of suicide attackers assembled by the Taliban authorities. The outlet quoted an Afghan security source as saying the bombers were outfitted with explosive vests and prepared for martyrdom operations. According to the same report, the fighters also had car bombs at their disposal and were ready to strike major targets deep inside Pakistani territory. Bakhtar added that intensive offensive and retaliatory operations are underway in multiple sectors along the disputed Durand Line frontier. These operations specifically include activity in the border provinces of Paktia, Paktika, and Khost along the Afghanistan-Pakistan boundary. Pakistan's information minister said drone attacks jolted 3 Pakistani cities, Abbottabad, Swabi, and Nowshera, but no casualties were reported. Security forces placed Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Momen district on high alert amid rising tensions and cross-border fire along the Pak-Afghan frontier. Afghanistan's Taliban government announced that it had carried out airstrikes against targets in several areas inside Pakistan as part of its response. Taliban statements claimed the strikes included an attack on a Pakistani military camp in the broader Faizabad area, not far from the capital region around Islamabad. Kabul described the cross-border operation as a bold counteroffensive directed at high-value Pakistani military targets, including facilities near top government centers. Reports from Afghan authorities said suicide drones and other air operations were used to target what they termed elite or sensitive military installations inside Pakistan. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia's foreign minister held a phone call with his Pakistani counterpart, Ishaq Dar, to discuss the situation. The Saudi Foreign Ministry said the two ministers focused on ways to reduce tensions and prevent further deterioration between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Iran also signaled its readiness to help facilitate dialogue between Kabul and Islamabad in an effort to de-escalate the crisis. Afghan officials said their latest cross-border attacks were in retaliation for Pakistani airstrikes conducted on February 26. Pakistan announced it had launched Operation Ghazab hack against Taliban targets in Afghanistan, striking locations in and around Kabul, Kandahar, and Paktia provinces. Islamabad claimed the operation killed 133 Taliban fighters and wounded more than 200 others, according to Pakistan's information minister Retaliatory. Witnesses and media reports described fighter jets overhead, gunfire, and multiple blasts being heard in Kabul and Kandahar during the Pakistani strikes. Terror said that a key corps headquarters and a brigade headquarters were destroyed in Kandahar as part of the Pakistani campaign.
Now, the way they have given this response, I think the Afghans have been left baffled by this response. They have no clue of what's going on. They have been resorting to a lot of propaganda, to a lot of fake news, and using their accounts for this purpose. In fact, you saw an international media outlet made a very tall claim with regard to the Afghans, and they had to delete that tweet later on. So you see, in our response, 72 Afghan Taliban combatants have been terminated, more than 120 have been injured, 16 Afghan Taliban posts have been destroyed, and 7 Afghan Taliban posts have been captured. A large ammunition depot, an Afghan Taliban battalion headquarters, and Afghan Taliban sector headquarters have also been destroyed. So far, more than 36 tanks, artillery guns, and armored personnel carriers have been destroyed. These counterattacks continue. And I think our armed forces have once again proven that any aggression and any ill intent towards the country will be dealt with iron hands. And the way they have given this response, the whole nation stands with them. And you just saw a statement by the Prime Minister praising the valiant efforts of the armed forces and also praising the leadership of Field Marshal Sayyid Asim Munir. And I think our armed forces have always made the nation very proud. The whole nation stands behind the armed forces, and the way that they've given this response, I think it was due, and this aggression has been dealt with in a very effective manner. I think Pakistan will not tolerate the Afghan soil being used against Pakistan for terrorist attacks, and the Afghan soil actually being not only being used, but the terrorists are getting training in Afghanistan. They are crossing the border into Pakistan, carrying out these attacks. So we made it abundantly clear that any such attempt will be given a very befitting response. And when an unprovoked aggression happened earlier tonight, you saw that the response was very, very accurate, very precise, very effective. And I have another update right now through security sources have just told us that the Pakistan Armed Forces have carried out very effective airstrikes in Kandahar, Kabul and Paktia, and they have destroyed military installations belonging to the Afghan Taliban regime. The Pakistan Air Force has also destroyed 2 brigade headquarters in Kabul, and further strikes have been carried out in Kandahar, in which 1 corps headquarter and 1 brigade headquarter has also been destroyed. This has been told to us by the security sources. The Pakistan Air Force has also destroyed an ammunition depot and a logistic base in Kandahar. And these very, very effective airstrikes have been carried out by the Pakistan Air Force. The security sources have just revealed to us. I think, in fact, it's quite to the contrary that the Afghan Taliban regime has been harboring terrorists. They have been protecting these terrorists. And, you know, by this unprovoked aggression earlier tonight, they have shown to the world that they are just there to protect these terrorists and promote them. Otherwise, there was no justification for this unprovoked aggression across the border tonight. The only justification they have is that terrorist bases were attacked by Pakistan. Terrorist bases were targeted, and obviously Pakistan has a right to exterminate these terrorists and terminate them. So I think the only reason that they carried out this aggression was because they wanted to protect these terrorists. So now it's crystal clear. The whole world has seen that Afghanistan has taken no steps to counter terrorism, to counter this cross-border terrorism, or to counter these terrorists or their activities. In fact, they have provided more support to the terrorists, and now the whole world is witness to this. Pakistan has responded in defense. Pakistan has taken these terrorists to task, and a lot of Afghan military bases and their logistic bases have been destroyed tonight, because Pakistan believes that any aggression towards Pakistan needs to be given a befitting response, and our valiant armed forces have done exactly that.
Amid the bombardments, Pakistan's defense minister publicly declared what he called open war against the Taliban authorities in Afghanistan. Islamabad said this declaration followed what it described as large-scale offensive operations by Afghan forces along multiple sectors of the Durand Line. One reported incident involved the Omari camp near the Torkham border crossing being struck by mortar fire overnight. Taliban officials said there was a 4-hour clash on February 26, during which both sides used light and medium weapons along the frontier. An Afghan government spokesperson claimed that around 40 Pakistani soldiers were killed in these cross-border attacks, though Pakistan disputes this figure. Earlier, on February 22, Pakistan had carried out airstrikes on sites inside Afghanistan that it said were linked to Taliban Pakistan militants. Pakistani authorities claimed those strikes killed about 70 militants, but Kabul rejected that account, asserting that many of the casualties were civilians.